Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome. Today we are talking about appreciation, receiving, allowing, and having. So as consciousness, it's more than just money, but it's like an expression of energy flow. And how is your energy flowing regarding your wealth and your prosperity and your abundance in your life?
Yeah, there's a lot in this as we realign, taking the time in January to look where we've been and look to see what 2016 can be. These are things that are core issues, core challenges, they're in the foundation of all of us, is that we need to know how to appreciate, how to receive, how to give, how to allow, and how to have in really healthy ways. So that's what we'll take a look at today, right?
Yes, and just to let folks know, we're recovering probably financially and energetically from December, but also how it's your energy really affects your quality of life. And our whole month we've been talking about value and self-worth, and so now we're getting more in detail about these energies and your energy and what you create in your life.
Yeah, it's all very important. And at any moment, it's an opportunity to stop, listen to your inward process, and just see how in alignment we are with these things that are important to us and how they play out in the world. Yeah, definitely. So we want people to call in today if they'd like. And what's that number again, Joan?
Or the number to call is 888-627-6008. So I'm going to say this again. If you are listening to us live and on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, and that's 2 p.m. Eastern. I don't remember what it is Greenwich Mean Time, but it's 7 hours later in Spain. If you're listening to us live, you can call us at 888-627-6008 to talk to us directly and to join us in the conversation. So maybe you are experiencing things to do with your energy flow, your expression of appreciation, your receiving of abundance. So join us in the conversation. Maybe you just got money problems. Join us in the conversation and ask us questions, and we will talk to you on the air and give you some answers. That's 888-627-6008 in case you didn't have a pen before.
Yeah. Yes? It can be as easy as being able to receive a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about things. It's how comfortable we are with being acknowledged that we're worthy human beings. Right? And that we deserve and we appreciate ourselves. It's always about ourselves. We have to start from that place. And then that we can love ourselves in some way. And how do we demonstrate that? So that's what we'll get into today. And let's get caught up with all these places that you're going to be out there in the world, meet up in the Seattle area. What you got cooking there, Joan?
Well, there's more. So actually, in terms of where you can find me outside of the radio show is on my website, joan-newcomb.com. I have weekly videos. Actually, twice a week, I have videos on YouTube, and I post them there also on my website. You can find out where I am holding my meetups. So currently, I hold meetups between Seattle and Tacoma and Bellevue and Olympia. And This week, I'm going to be in Seattle at the Magnolia Library on Sunday, January 24th. And then on Sunday, January 31st, I'm going to be in Olympia at the Timberland Library. However, if you're listening to this on another time and space, on my website, you'll also find out the other places I'm there and when I'm offering other things. I do webinars for people who can't get in touch with me face-to-face. I do things by webinars. I have different topics that I'm offering. And also, you can learn other ways to work with me. And my mind is racing ahead, Janet, to the things that we're going to be doing together this week as well. If you want to know about what your life purpose is, I have a quiz there that'll give you your answer to what your purpose is, why you are here in your life. So go to my website, joan-newcomb.com for that. What about you, Janet?
Good stuff. And then we do have here in Portland, Oregon, we have a weekly heart-centered awareness conscious conversations with Janet. You can find out more about meetup.com or at my website, janetandbeyond.com. All these addresses. And check and find it out 7 to 9 here in Portland, Oregon. And we want to let all of you know this is the week we do the free conference call on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, for those of you outside of our area and who'd like to have a closer up personal chat we have a great time for about an hour on Thursday night. And please think to join us. You can check in with that at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com and find out more information. So lots of ways to be involved and do things and participate. And, we're very appreciative always. We love to hear from you. So that's the receiving part, and allowing us to be with you and having a good time. There we go. We took it all and put it in a nice little bag there.
But wait, there is more.
Yes.
And actually I sent you an email, but you probably haven't got it yet. So I wanted to let everyone know, actually everyone already knows, is that we are in a time of huge transformation, and everybody is experiencing a shift of consciousness.
Aren't they? Yes,
and
they are.
This is why we are doing this show, is to let you know that you're not alone and to give you a bigger perspective of what is going on and how to experience it differently by dropping into heart space. And you may be noticing how it's showing up in your life. It may be showing up as things breaking down, maybe your health, maybe your relationship, maybe your work, stuff like that. So Janet and I so appreciate your taking the time to listen to this show that we are going to gift 10 listeners with mini sessions. And so stay tuned, because we're going to tell you how to do that later on in the show. So keep on listening, and we will give you the details on how you could be one of the lucky ones to get a free mini session.
That's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. I have no doubt about it. So what do we want to look at today's subject?
Well, I also, we have lots to say about today's subject, but I also realized we haven't told them also how to find out about us on Facebook and on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
So these are other ways to engage with us and continue the conversation, because maybe you're listening to this and you go, I have something to say now. Well, log into Facebook and join us at Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And you can add your comments there. You can also follow us on Twitter at Joan and Janet and give your suggestions of things to talk about. And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube, Conscious with Joan and Janet on YouTube. We have our shows there on YouTube as well. And you can find out both of this at our websites, janetandbeyond.com or joan-newcomb.com. So we are also going to be telling you lots more about appreciation, receiving, allowing, and having. But we have to stop for a commercial break, so stay tuned, because we'll be talking all about this in Heart Space with Janet.
Are you ready to take a quantum leap in your life? Joan Newcomb is a conscious mastery coach who empowers you to navigate life from your own inner wisdom using energy techniques. Contact her through her website, joan-newcomb.com, and take conscious mastery of your life today. That's joan-newcomb.com. You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan. I'm along here with Janet. We are talking about appreciation, receiving, allowing, and having. And we want to remind you that today is a live show, so you can call in and talk with us live at 888-627-6008 if you want to join in the conversation and ask us some direct questions, and we will answer your questions on the air. So, Janet, you want to tell them about heart space and what we're about to slide into?
Okay, well, heart space. That's an interesting premise, isn't it? For most of us, we probably think about it as in terms of either physical heart or emotional work. And it's really, when we think of it in terms of consciousness, it's the core meaning of heart. It's the core, the essence of all. It's the field of the heart, unified consciousness. And that this is where our authentic voices will come out. And we engage from that space where we don't have personal agenda, where we just allow information to show up, free of our rationalizing, reasoning, logical left brain. So it's right-based, right brain, which is the creative picture, big picture quality that is connected to heart. And we use that space to navigate because we all have stuff there. And some of us are willingly listen and some of us don't. And most of us, life is about what happens when we do listen and the difference when we don't. And we can spend a lifetime in those arenas. So consciousness technologies and the whole field has been opening up in these last 10 years or so about just how we engage as consciousness, which you're always so wonderful about reminding us, Joan, and that how that interaction is happening in this physical realm for us. So we're going to take a leap. Sometimes it feels like a leap. Sometimes it just is a dropping in. Sometimes it's just an accessing. It's going to be different. And in all kinds of different practices, they engage this state. So this is the way we refer to it as heart-centered awareness. And just the marvel of being able to hear out of the stillness and the quiet and the sacred, the voices that are in there for us. So what do you think? Shall we drop in? What do you notice? What do we want to do here? Do you have something you want to offer?
What, you can't hear me telepathically when I'm talking when I'm muted? I'm chatting away and I'm saying, wow, that was a really wonderful introduction and that was great. My seatbelts are fastened. I'm ready to go into heart space. So, yes.
Okay. All right, everybody. So let's see if we're all here, wherever you are, whatever time and space you're listening to this in the present and the past, which is irrelevant to us because there is no time and space in this reality that we're creating together. And so if you're driving, that's fine. The part of you that can listen, that's great because it is 11 a.m. somewhere in the world in the morning here on the West Coast, I guess we are, time zone. It might be a different time when you're listening, which is just wonderful. So the part of you that can relax, focus, the rest of you keep busy. That's okay. You'll get it. It'll sink in. So just notice however you're noticing yourself and be okay. And then just let's see what we want to do today. It is about dropping in. Okay, so let's drop in. So you can do an elevator ride if you haven't done this with us before, or if you're familiar with this technique, which is a word that's always kind of jarring to me. But in just a process, how about we call it that today? Willingly allow yourself to see yourself get in an elevator. Push the button for heart floor. And doors closed. Ding. I haven't been in an elevator a while. And just let yourself drop. Drop out. There you go. Drop down. Drop in. Ding. The door opens. And just step out. And it's a nice foyer out there. Oh, okay. Get your bearings. This is your heart. And go into the door that looks interesting to you. There you go. And it's bright. It's colorful. It's your emotional terrain. There you go. Don't judge. Just notice what it looks like today. And then go see the other door. And as you go into that door that you want to go into, just be aware that you open into immensity. There you go. Into the core, the essence of us all, where we are one. You and I, showing up as bits and pieces in this immense sea of potential. And however that appears to you, like a vision in Star Wars or something you've dreamt about, doesn't matter. Just enjoy. There you go. Notice that you're free. You don't fall, you fly. There you go. And what it'd be like to be free of the limits, self-imposed limits that consciousness has as you. That has set up the framework for you to be who you are, and know that that framework is changeable if you'd like it to be. So everything kind of starts to shake a little bit when you allow it to be different. And what if things could just dissolve, those things that seem so hard? Here we go. And just find yourself melting. There we go. That's nice. There we go. All right, Miss Joan, what do you notice?
I'm melting. I'm melting.
In the most delightful way.
Okay, that's a nice reframe. What I'm noticing is lots of eddies and currents.
Oh,
and what I feel like I'm tuning into is all the different ways that we are both receiving and creating in life. And even though there's a general flow of the river, that we're influencing our experience of it, whether we're trying to swim upstream or we're trying to splash sideways or go faster in our canoe than the person in the sailboat, Mm-hmm. So all of those are different ways that we are both experience our flow of life, but also how we can influence how we're floating down the river, so to speak.
Well, my sense is like it opened up into this ocean. Mm-hmm. And, and the recent movie, Life of Pi, they did such marvelous ocean. I don't know that you can call it photography. I mean, it was just showing so many altered states about what was associated with water. It was just marvelous. And that, and then there is the river, and then there is the pond, and there is the drop of water. It's all about life. It's all about movement, and some of it is still, and some of it is a rapid, and some of it is gently moving, but it's all life and all the components of life. And that feels really, really allow yourself. And it's really, there it is underwater. And what would it be like to be able to breathe underwater? We all come out of that. We all breathe in fluid to begin life with. So just notice that. What if it was just easy to be? Yeah. There's some air bubbles. Something there. There we go. I think it's really important to notice how each of us are, right? Each of us are. Correct my language there. We are beings. Yeah. What you got?
Well, it's interesting. I am using something I call third level listening. So what I'm noticing is in heart space, you can feel like you're in a big, rubber raft lazily floating down the river. And when you're not in heart space, it can feel like you're in the middle of a 5-alarm fire.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking about is, it's really all about, you've said over and over again, it's about enjoying life. It's about quality of life. Mm-hmm. And we can get caught up in making it all about the money, and so we're running around like, hamsters on a wheel, really, trying to create from this sense of franticness and this sense of, basically it's fear-based, it's survival-based. And when we're doing that, we might be making big gobs of money, but we're not having any kind of quality of life. We're not enjoying it. So, we're talking today, the 4 words that we used to describe today's topic was appreciation, receiving, allowing, and having. And all of those, I feel, are really core energetic components on how to really have a satisfying, rich life.
I think we also are more focused on the having too.
Yeah.
Right. And we need to go back to acknowledging the other 3, because you can't have that without those other 3, really. You can't have anything unless you allow it. And what do you allow? And you can't allow for something if you can't receive it. What do you receive? And receiving is so tied up in giving. So what do you give and what do you receive? And then the value of that something has worth is the appreciation.
Yes.
And we only want to receive what is worth something to us. And the trick is when we're receiving all the time, but it's things that we don't understand, we hold a value to, and we judge them to be negative things. And the reality is that there is so much to be gained by having something negative show up. And that too is a judgment. That negative and good, those are judgments. So it's all just information. And what I'm so noticing here is that in this quiet of the soup of life and the liquid of life was the quiet. And that all those things come into a different relationship. So having is just not the only focal point. It's about all these other things that have to take place that we have to give attention to.
Well, so I wanted to touch base on from the perspective of consciousness, there is no judgment, there is no good or bad. And so everything that is in your life today is a reflection of your creativity as consciousness. And what you have and what you don't have is a reflection of your creativity. And really, it carries equal weight or non-weight to consciousness. So if you have a lot of poverty, if you have a lot of hardship, if you have a lot of pain and discomfort, all those things, that shows how creative you are as consciousness. And it's as creative as having lots of money, lots of luck, lots of, whatever the good stuff is. Right. Good stuff and bad stuff, it's the same reflection of your creative Creativity is consciousness. So that was one little tidbit that was floating across my awareness. And then the other part was about appreciation. And so here's a way of shifting your perspective on the flow of money, or what money really is. Because money is it's a reflection of your creativity as well, but it's also an expression of your appreciation, what you give to the world, but it's also a reflection of how you receive appreciation. So the money that flows to you is like the universe is consciousness expressing appreciation to you, and your consciousness expressing appreciation for things in your life.
And it's a very artificial system. The value, when we work and we get paid for our work, that's very artificial. That sometimes has nothing to do with you. That has to do with a system that says, this is what we're going to pay. And you agree to that. So it's come, what is the word? The word's gone. We are in agreement that this is the value you're going to put on my effort. So it's really so artificial.
Yes.
And, I love those parade. Twice a year, they drag out how much everybody gets paid, right? And you go, oh my gosh, look what they pay a teacher, and then look what we pay for someone who plays basketball. And how does that really level out? We are willing to invest in entertainment. Oh my gosh. So we want to feel good. That's where we show our appreciation, is that we so want to feel good. We are so willing to pay high prices for it.
Well,
not education.
Right.
The teachers are frequently the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
Not keeping me safe. The firemen and the policemen, for all the.
Well, the other thing, the whole thing is an artificial. I mean, the hologram's an artificial system.
Yeah, really.
But the way I also look at it in terms of people who are celebrities is that they are receiving in accordance with the amount of life energy that they're giving. And they give their whole life to be a celebrity, and they give up their privacy. They live within a bubble. And so they have lost they've lost their individuality in return for big gobs of money. And then you think about, they buy really big houses, and I look at that, it's like, because they're desperate for space. They need space, and they've given it up for publicity.
Right. And, we're not judging any of this, and we don't mean to
it's an observation.
We're looking at as values and what we value as societies and what we have constructed. And we get to understand that how in alignment or out of alignment we are with what is important to us as individuals. And we always are making choices. And this is why we do Heart Space, why we look to create this place for all of our listeners and ourselves, because we understand that this is the place where, are you in alignment? What's important to you? Where are you putting your money? Where are you putting your mouth? Where are you doing these things? I want to talk about that. Receiving. Receiving and giving are the same to me, except for the direction of flow. For me, in what I have learned about, the physical heart is the first organ that develops in the embryo. Our arms grow out of our chest. They don't grow out of our shoulders. They grow out of our chest. Heart. And for many of us, we understand that it is an expression, our hands and giving and receiving and manipulating is an expression of heart physically. We're just grounded in that way. And we're always giving and receiving. But we set up these artificial constructs in our belief systems about who we are and how the world is set. in our discernments as consciousness, what we want to experience in life, about that flow. And we want to be able, as much as to be open to receiving, and what that means from a heart place, but it's also from an inspired place. It is inherent that those arms reach out. The first action the embryo does is hugs itself. That's incredible. That is his instinct in all of us, is to hug ourselves, to know ourselves, to hold ourselves. You have to receive that. What would it be like? We all know what it's like to feel a hug that we don't want. What would it be like if you did? And just allow that to break down. Let yourself feel your own hug. This is self-worth. This is self-value. This is love. Can you hug yourself? How interesting. Nice place to go.
Yes. And you know what it really breaks down to is that this is really all about you, the greater you and the little you. Mm-hmm. So the greater you as consciousness and the little you is your body personality. Mm-hmm. And so if you're looking at relationships, it's really you in relationship with you. You know, if you're looking at your quality of life and, you know, how much stuff you have or how much money's bringing in, it's really about, are you taking care of you? How are you taking care of you? How are you appreciating you? How are you receiving what the greater you is giving to you? How are you allowing that to come to you? How are you having it? So it's saying all the same things, but realizing that it's not coming from out there. It's coming from the greater you. Mm-hmm. You know, and something that I have been dancing with and floating around on the tips of my consciousness here too, is that with consciousness, I've been working on the directional from all of this, and with consciousness, it's not coming from the stars. It's not coming from above your seventh chakra or any of that. It's consciousness is outside of the box. It's outside of the hologram, and everything you can name pretty much is within this physical hologram. So if you're saying the center of the earth, if you're saying the center of the universe, if you're saying the star system Rigel or whatever, but when we're dropping into heart space and we're connecting as consciousness, you know, if you step back into your heart, you can keep going back into your heart because there's it's an infinite space there. Mm-hmm. And when you are working with consciousness technologies, you're really not working within, you know, you're not working within atoms and molecules, and though you're affecting atoms and molecules, you're not working within this time and space. You're working outside of, you know, beyond the drawing board. And why is she saying this? How is this useful? Because it's like having a bigger picture on how to interact and create in this reality, and realize that you are the source, and you're coming from the source, and the source is not, you know, the sun. The source is not, you know, Charlton Heston with a long beard in the sky or whatever. Mm-hmm. Its essence is you.
Well, before there was each of us in our embodiment, there was the all, right? In most traditions, you know. So in a physicality, I suppose, terms, it's like then the bits and pieces came together. Right? We're all bits and pieces of photons and the little biophotons. And it all comes together into a matrix and forms, and it becomes embodied, and it becomes your physicality. But at core essence is still the all. And that's what heart-centered awareness is. It's bringing you back to the all that's still within you. And you can call upon that. And this body, each of our bodies, is an expression of that all. That's the majesty and the sheer wonderment of being, is that you can feel the all within yourself. If you allow yourself, and that's an important thing, if you allow yourself, because awareness is a tricky deal, right? When you allow yourself to know something, it might come up against some other thought you have, a belief you might have. And now you go, well, that doesn't match that. What am I going to do about that? Well, maybe I'll deny it. I won't think about it. And what happens is you start to build this clutter within ourselves. And so once again, something shows up and if you allow it in, okay, that means I get to make a choice. Which do I choose today? It's a very interesting state to be in, allowance. It's not just your 5 cents. I'm sure it must be much more your weekly allowance. And when I was young, we had a weekly allowance of, I think it was 5 cents, and we could spend it on whatever. So you went down to the store and you got candy, right? I don't know what that is. Maybe it's not that we didn't have candy. Well, I guess we didn't have candy elsewhere.
You could get a Nestle's bar for 5 cents.
Yeah. Or you get those penny candies, of all different kinds and stuff. So it's interesting. You associate the allowance with pleasure. Maybe we need to just broaden that allowance concept and realize, oh, okay. Some of us had to work for allowance, right? You had to do chores. That's an interesting word. You don't hear that anymore, do you? Chores. You have to do the chores. I think we think in those terms sometimes. But there was always... You wanted the payoff, the allowance. Yeah, allowance.
Well, and for me, it was a shilling.
Okay. So a penny meant a whole different thing to you.
It was a penny and a farthing, and it was two and 6 is a shilling. So it was essentially like the equivalent of a quarter, I guess, for me then. And then we went to rupees, so different monetary systems. And 4 rupees back then was $1 kind of thing.
They weren't rubies, they were rupees. Okay.
Rupees, it was Indian monetary currency. Yeah. So, but the thing is that, yes, you're right. Some people had to work for their quarters. And, my mother used to park cars on their lawn for University of Michigan football games for a quarter. That's how they earned their allowances. So this really shapes your relationship with receiving and having. So did you have to work for your allowance? Did you get an allowance? I know my kids didn't get an allowance from me, and they was just not in the budget. And on their dad's side, sometimes they got it, and sometimes they had a piece of paper on the refrigerator with an IOU. That really can mess with, how's your receptivity? Is the universe something that effortlessly provides for you, or is it something you have to work for? That kind of thing. It's very interesting.
Well, yeah, it's the value of, I was watching this great movie Slingshot on Netflix the other night about the gentleman, Keeman, who's developing water purification. 50% of the world, around the world, disease and mayhem would be gone if we had clean water. And, we take so much for granted in the United States. Though I know there are places in the United States that clean water is an issue too. But put yourself in a village in Ghana, for instance, and you walk 1.5 miles every morning to get a bucket of water. And that's what you do, and all the time it takes. And there's still people living in that exposure. And there's people who still don't have clean water when they walk the 1.5 miles to get water. The reason I'm saying that, where did that go? things we take for granted, the
Well,
appreciation and the receiving.
Resources, right? The planetary resources. And so, right. The crazy thing is that the planet really does have enough to support us and sustain us. There is enough food in the world to feed everybody. There is enough material resources, but yet we have people living in circumstances where the water isn't drinkable, and people living in poverty and hunger. And the crazy thing is that you could be in Ghana, but you could also be in Flint.
Right.
You could be in the U.S. and we're still creating those experiences of lack. Mm-hmm. Or you have, or villages in India that do not have resources, and yet they have a rich community life, a rich family and community life where people are happy even though they don't have electricity. So this is a really fun planet of dichotomies that shows us contrast, that shows us, anything we want to create. So what is the experience that you're creating?
I'm seeing a waterfall of energy for everyone. And that it's in light, right? It's a shower. And being in that state of just being all your bits and pieces, being caressed, blessed, open, receiving, in a state of just wonder, joy, grace, whatever the words are that come to mind, and what that would be like to renew in that. We are deserving. Consciousness sets up things. All right? So how in alignment are we with giving, receiving, able, willing, deserving? Are these words that compromise us in some way, or one does the other? They're all important considerations to be in alignment that you are all right in your world. And I'm not saying that things don't threaten it, but that is our attachment that challenges us. Consciousness is all right no matter the circumstances. So if we just knew that we were all right, what would that be like? And before we come out of the state, do we want to come out of the state before the break or after, Joan?
It feels more complete to come out before the break.
It does. It does. Anything there?
We do have. I just do want to remind folks that I do have some things for after the break. We have this special giveaway that we're having. So if you want to receive from our giveaway, the details are going to be right after the break. And you used the example of the waterfall. That's actually that's a in this world technique that I used for people to increase their havingness, is to imagine themselves with a waterfall flowing through them, and it helps increase your energy so that you can have more. But you can't live in the waterfall; you'd feel like a little waterlogged. So I have them, once they've done that, they replace it with ionized air. And that's a much more comfortable place to be navigating.
Right. It was an energetic waterfall, so it wasn't actual water. So it's about being in the flow, because that's water is so ionized when it's moving like that, negative ions. Yes. So, all right. So everyone, just notice what it'd be like to appreciate, what it'd be like to receive, what it'd be like to allow, and what it'd be like to have. And feel those four principles or concepts, wherever you're holding that, realign themselves within each other. And there's no rights and wrongs in any of this. It's just us showing our deep appreciation of how we can play as consciousness. There you go. There's a settling that takes place. So, and allow yourself to just come back into that. See the door. Go into the foyer. See the emotional terrain. Notice what that's like now. And then there's the elevator and the floor for street level. Push that button. And allow yourself in. Hear the ding. Doors close. And as you rise up, you don't really leave the building and what it's accessible. It's always there. You just shift in your awareness up and down, that's all. Or outward and inward. And as the doors open and step into the sunlight, just notice. There we go. And whatever it was. It is no longer. It is different. This is what we step into. All right. And
all right. So notice what you're noticing. Hold that feeling because we have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because we have some special giveaway for you when we come back from the break.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you're dealing with? Janet Barrett is a subtle energy empath. Feeling the energies present in your myths and language, she offers a supportive, non-judgmental viewpoint. Experience new ways to relate to and release the energies in those stories. Receive a $25 discount on your first session. Email Janet for an appointment at janetb@janetandbeyond.com. Come explore with Janet. New possibilities for a joy-filled life.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan. I'm along here with Janet, and we have been talking about appreciation, receiving, allowing, and having.
Yeah, I think something's coming to mind about the having. I want everyone to think, to feel, to just notice. If I say it's all gone tomorrow, what happens? See, we get so tied up. What is really important to you? Each of us. It's different. Could be different. Is it the things? Is it about having? Or is it about being? Is it about how you feel? Is it about how your family is? Would you do something different? These are important things for each of us to look at. It is not about the having. Because then it's about the haves and the have-nots. Yeah. Just notice those scales seem a little different. I like how it's reorganizing itself.
I was thinking of, I read about somebody who had a fire. And when they went back to the house, what was left behind? And they didn't feel a sense of loss, even though everything except a little fragile teacup was the only thing that didn't get destroyed. So they had lost everything material, but they had this tremendous sense of relief and freedom.
Yeah.
Because what they did have was, everybody made it out of the apartment. So everybody was, they had their life and they had each other.
I think that speaks about attachment. If who you are is in the things that you have, then that loss is very different than if you realize that okay, I can get something else. One thing about my decluttering the last couple of weeks that's shown up is I'm the one who gives the value to what I have. Each of us do that. If I had someone come in, and that's the thing about a garage sale or an estate sale, you go, wow, they thought this was important. That doesn't really register on my scale. Scale. We give the meaning to the things we have. And it's important to remember that. And if you give it the meaning, then you can change that too if you need, if you're realizing that it's out of balance. What's real. So, yeah. Oh, life has so much potential to it. I love it. I'm looking forward to 2016 as we clear these things up and my tree of life is blooming, bearing the fruit of joy. I'm just really feeling that congruency in there. I love it. Very important.
I want to let people know how they can stay in touch with us outside the show. I want to let them know things coming up
our special.
This week in our special. And also, so hang on, folks, because I'm going to also tell you about the special giveaway that Janet and I are doing. But first, I do want to remind folks that we have a Conscious conference call coming up this Thursday, January 21st. It's at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And if you would like to join us for an up-close and personal opportunity for questions and answers and to be in this heart space in a small group experience, email us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, joan-newcomb.com, and you can register there as well. Also on my website, I have meetups. I have meetups coming up in Seattle this weekend at the Magnolia Library on Sunday, January 24th, and in Olympia the following weekend on Sunday, January 31st. And then also in Seattle and in Tacoma in February. So you can find out all of that at joan-newcomb.com. You can also have a quiz that can show you your purpose and your passion for being here and find other ways to work directly with me. And Janet, what's your website?
Mine would be janetandbeyond.com. And please, you can check in there, subscribe for my weekly blog. Both Joan and I have wonderful blogs, so I'll take credit for that and her credit. And you want to get on our weekly email list. And we're writing about life. We give you lots of things to participate in and question on your own. And it's a nice way to check in and see how you're doing in the world, because we are all one. And the more we connect to that, there you go. Because what's happening here is affecting you out there in some way. What's happening with Joan is affecting all of us here in some way. And so great ways to check in and see how you're doing.
Yeah, another ways to talk to us is join us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. So you can join the group and join the fun. You can also follow Janet on Facebook at Janet Barrett. And you can follow me on Facebook at Joan Marjorie Newcomb, or my fan page is Joan Newcomb. So those are lots of ways to get in touch with us on Facebook. You can leave us comments. You can ask us questions. We interact frequently on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter at Joan and Janet is the shows. And mine is at Joan Newcomb. And I have a really fun Twitter feed. Lots of stuff goes across there. You can also watch us on YouTube. Both the show is on YouTube. You can find out Conscious with Joan and Janet at gmail.com, the show on YouTube. And I am also on YouTube, and you can go to my website, joan-newcomb.com, for all my YouTube videos. And now, now is the time you've been waiting for, is our giveaway. So we are acknowledging that we're in a time of huge transformation. Everyone's experiencing a shift of consciousness, and it's showing up in our lives often as things breaking down our health, our relationship, our work, our finances, everything like that. And we so appreciate that you are taking time to listen to the show and learn more about consciousness, that Janet and I are gifting 10 listeners with a 15-minute session each. So if you want to be one of the lucky folks, email us consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. And just let you know that a 15-minute session is a $50 value for Janet, and it's an $85 value for me. So you are receiving that. I will record mine, and amazing stuff happens in that that tidbit of time. So how you get that is email us at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com, and you can put giveaway in the subject line, and then my assistant will get us directly to us.
Sounds good to me. Yeah. We're so appreciative of being able to join you wherever you are around the world, and to participate in realizing that there is something coming back. A lot of times we do things and you wonder if anyone's hearing you, right, or out there in the world. And it's lovely to be able to realize that you do connect with people, and whatever time and space that is, right? It is nice.
Yes. Yeah. So today's show is all about expressing appreciation, and we decided we wanted to express appreciation to you guys too. So we appreciate our listeners, and we love to hear from you. You can email us at Conscious with Joan and Janet. Tell us what you think. Tell us the topics to talk about. And again, you can also leave us messages on Facebook and on Twitter all about that good stuff too.
Thank you, everyone. Have the most wonderful of weeks today.
Yes, you've been
this week. Have a wonderful week this week.
No matter when you're listening, we'd like to thank you all for helping co-create the show, because it doesn't matter if you're listening to it in the future or not, you are helping co-create the show. And thank you so much. You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next Wednesday for another great show at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. UTC.